There's a moment in Jane Austen's final novel when time stops. No carriages, no drawing rooms, no chaperones. Just a man's trembling hand, a few hastily written lines, and a declaration that has echoed through literary history. You pierce my soul. I am half agony, half hope. That line didn't just change Anne Elliot's life. It changed what romance could look like. Quiet, raw, and written. In Jane Austen's novels, letters are never just letters. They're turning points, confessions, lifelines. When characters speak in person, they're bound by the social rules of the Regency-era. But in a letter, they're finally free. Letters in Austen are revelations, not only of emotion but of character. What someone chooses to say or not say when they write tells us everything. And three of her most iconic stories, Pride and Prejudice, Emma and Persuasion, each contain one unforgettable letter. These letters don't simply move the plot. They pierce through pride, misunderstanding, silence, and give us some of the most honest moments in English literature. But none is more soul-shaking than the one written by Captain Wentworth. Persuasion is a quieter novel than Austen's earlier works. There's no verbal sparring like Darcy and Elizabeth, no sparkling matchmaking like Emma. Instead, there's silence. Years of it. Anne Elliot once turned down Captain Wentworth, not because she didn't love him, but because she was persuaded to think him unsuitable. They've lived with the consequences ever since. And when fate brings them back into each other's orbit, the pain of what wasn't said grows unbearable. Then, as Anne speaks with a friend about constancy in love, Wentworth overhears, and suddenly words come rushing out, not spoken, written. In a letter slipped into Anne's hand, he writes, You pierce my soul. I am half agony, half hope. Tell me not that I am too late. It is tender, desperate, unfiltered, and it is the moment Anne and we realize that love has endured. In the hierarchy of romantic declarations, it stands alone. Because unlike other proposals in Austen, this is not pride softened or misunderstanding cleared. This is a broken heart asking, humbly, urgently, to be heard again. And now turn to Pride and Prejudice, where the most famous letter isn't romantic at all. At least not at first. After Darcy's failed first proposal to Elizabeth, she is furious. She believes him arrogant, cruel, and unjust. And then, he gives her a letter. It's not an apology in the modern sense, it's a defence. He explains his actions, tells the truth about Mr. Wickham, and reveals his role in separating Bingley from Jane. At first glance, it's not a love letter. But in truth, it's something rarer. A man opening his inner life without embellishment. Stripped of performance, no audience, no charm, just facts, and quiet vulnerability. This letter forces Elizabeth to confront her own prejudices. And it's this shift in her understanding, not flirtation, not attraction, that becomes the real beginning of their love story. What's remarkable here is that Austen lets a letter, not a grand gesture, change everything. Darcy wins Elizabeth not by persuading her with flowers, but by trusting her with truth. In Emma, we never get the big romantic letter. But that absence speaks volumes. Mr. Knightley, steady and principled, nearly writes to Emma when he believes she might be engaged to Frank Churchill. He is heartbroken, but holds back. Not from fear, but from respect. He will not intrude or presume. When the misunderstanding clears, he chooses to speak, not write. Yet Austen lets us know he would have written. And we can guess what it might have looked like. Calm, honest, deeply feeling, and quietly dignified. In a novel about misreading people and intentions, Knightley's restraint becomes its own kind of declaration. No dramatic letter is needed, because his love has always been steady, visible, and true. Still, Austen teases us with the idea, what if he had written? Could it have rivaled Wentworth's passion? Possibly. But where Wentworth had years of silence to break, Knightley had nothing to undo. Each of these letters, written or unwritten, reflects the character of the man behind it. Wentworth's is intense, emotional, a storm of feeling. He writes like someone who has carried love for years and can no longer bear the weight. Darcy's letter is logical, composed, but full of quiet pain. It doesn't plead, it explains. It doesn't woo, it reveals. And that, in its own way, is a form of love. Knightley's non-letter. It tells us of a man who loves without fanfare, whose constancy speaks for itself. He doesn't need a letter to declare it, he has lived it. And Austen's genius lies in how each letter doesn't just move the romance forward. It deepens our understanding of the people involved. Letters, in Austen's world, are the truest test of character. But what of the women who read these letters? Elizabeth reads Darcy's and begins to change. She realises her own pride and opens herself to a deeper truth. Anne reads Wentworth's and dares to hope. After years of silence and loss, she finally sees that her love has been returned all along. Emma never reads a letter, because she never needs one. She already knows Knightley. She knows him by his actions, his honesty, his steady presence. For her, the silence was already full of meaning. These letters, or their absence, don't just transform the men. They awaken something in the women too. Reflection, growth, and finally, readiness for love. So why does "You Pierce My Soul" still feel like the most romantic line in Austen's world? Because it says what so many people long to hear. Not just "I love you," but "I have loved you, still love you, and could never stop." It comes not at the start of a flirtation, but at the end of a long, aching silence. It comes with scars, and years, and longing. And that's what makes it feel earned. In a world where so much of love today is loud, fast, and fleeting, Austen's letters remind us of something quieter. That love can be steady. That words, carefully chosen, can carry lifetimes. That vulnerability, not grand gestures, is the deepest form of romance. And sometimes, all it takes is one letter. If this letter moved you too, share your favourite romantic moment from Austen in the comments. Was it Darcy's honesty, Knightley's quiet devotion, or Wentworth's unforgettable confession? And if you want more deep dives into classic literature, love and character, don't forget to subscribe. Because some stories are too powerful to be forgotten, and some words once written never stop echoing.